Good evening, everyone. And
Good evening.
I am Dr. Sujata Tyagarajan. I'm one of the PICU consultants leading at Aster RV Hospital. This Saturday evening, every couple of weeks, we are planning this Saturday eConnect, where in our Aster Kids 360-degree series, we have a 360-degree view on common problems that children, families, and us as doctors encounter. So last session, we had online schooling as our topic, and wonderful discussion happened. Lots of feedback from various people. So thanks to that. Continuing on the same journey, this week, we have another set of illustrious panelists with me who are going to discuss on an important topic, which is about falls and head injuries in children. So we'll try and get a 360-degree view about this common problem. So to discuss this problem with us, we have our young participant. So can I just invite Sai?
Sai Rishi.
Hello.
Sai, you want to introduce yourself to us, Sai Rishi?
Yes, definitely. Good evening to one and all present here. My name is Sai Rishi. I am a resident of Bangalore and I study in class 10 in the Educational Center.
Wonderful, welcome. And then we have a parent representative, Mrs. Monica Jain. May I please invite you to introduce yourself, please?
Good evening. Hi, everyone. My name is Monica Jain. I am currently a professional with HP, working for the last 18 years. I am a parent of a child who has gone through this head injury and falls. This is just a fresh experience from last year. So yeah, I have a lot to talk. Thank you for inviting me and having me here.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And to talk about the teacher's perspective, may I invite Mrs. Paramita Maitra?
Yeah, hi.
Welcome, ma'am.
Yeah, hi, Dr. Sujata. Thank you. I am Paramita Moitra, and I have been associated with the teaching field for the last 10 years, and with the AECS Magnolia family for the last 4 years. And I'm a coordinator there, primary coordinator, and as teaching involves a lot of children, as we all know, yes, today's topic is just apt, I feel, for the discussion.
And thank you.
Thanks.
And to top it all, where each of us, when such an injury happens, first point of contact are our pediatricians. And to discuss on this important topic, may I invite Dr. Alappa Banakar. Sir, welcome to the panel and kindly introduce yourself.
Thank you. I'm Dr. Alappa Banakar, a consultant pediatrician. I'm since past 20 years I'm practicing in Banashankari area. Basically, I'm doing the general pediatric. I think the day-to-day, like head injuries, day-to-day, what I'm practice and what my general practice perspective I'll be giving to the audience today. Thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you, sir. So we'll kind of start off the topic with, trying to understand what is the magnitude of this problem and how does it affect each one of us. So to get that view, I can request Sai Rishi to tell your experience about the falls or head injuries that you might have encountered. Do you want to tell us a little bit about how it feels, or what are the things that as a
During
child?
a fall, During a fall, generally what happens is we might not be aware of our general surrounding. We might not see the step ahead of us. We might fall down. Also, to add a point, we have been in our house, stuck in our house since 1.5 years. So we might not have experienced such a fall that we have experienced outside. But in house, like when we're running around the house, we're going to get something or the other, we might trip and fall. It happens sometimes. And recently, my experience was that I was going up the stairs in a hurry to get a thing, and I fell down the stairs, slipping and falling. It was painful.
Yeah, very painful. Yeah. What exactly happened to you, Sai? What injuries did you face?
in the stairs in the rush. I was in an urgent to get that particular object I wanted to. And I slipped. I missed a stair and I slipped down the whole flight of stairs. So yeah, and I ended up spraining my ankle really badly, and it affected me for a week or so.
Yeah, yeah. So, Mrs. Monica, what as a parent have you encountered in terms of falls and head injuries? What was your experience?
So for my son, exactly 1.5 years back in January 2020, he just went out to play in the apartment, and he's a very cautious kid, but that one particular day he decided to go with his friends to the terrace, which he normally doesn't. And I don't know what caught his attention on, you have those pigeon net, right? Which is very fragile. You're not supposed to be doing anything on it except the bird sitting probably. But I don't know, probably something related to a cartoon, or I have no idea because I didn't want to probe and find out. But something related to probably some superhero or something. And he just wanted to, climb up the sledge and try to sit on the net or just climb on the net. And 50 feet down, he just went. It was a concrete base. So he just fell there. And in fact, it was in a different block from my apartment. So I got to go to the actual event place probably 10 minutes later. By then he was, thanks to the community, the apartment that I stay in, the community people already picked him and they took him rushed to the hospital. So my experience, I think, is, head injuries, again, as I said, magnitude matters a lot. It could be small, it could be big. In this case, it was a proper head injury related to a fall, a trauma-related fall, I would say. And yes, it was a journey for us to get to where we are right now. But most primarily thing, I think it was the community who took the immediate action. So in such cases, I think you should not delay. Delay is the worst thing that you can do to anything. Because even if the magnitude is small or big, I think it's the delay which can cause it to become more worse. Immediate action that was taken. And second thing, I guess it's also that at that point, you should take the child to the best hospital possible, which has all kinds of multi-specialty, because you don't know what has happened. You're not a doctor to gauge, and even doctors, I think primarily, but just by looking, they cannot gauge it. So you really need to take the child to a multi-specialty clinic or hospital, the best that you can do at that point of time, because life is at stake in those early few hours, I would say. I think that's the primary message that I want to pass. And just continuing on the journey, it's a head injury, it was a trauma, but then just sticking on to what was the doctor's, course of action or protocol to follow. The trust was very important at that point of time, because you didn't know what is going to happen. Each day was crucial, each hour was crucial. Doctor had, I think today's world, it's become much better than I think previous generations. Doctors are very transparent, and I'm thankful for that, because they made it clear to us 72 hours are critical, which means critical to his life. Those words that they used, it shocked me for a while, but I was mentally prepared at least, right? So what could happen as a worst scenario and what could happen as a small good scenario from which we go on the journey. So that's one thing I think which I've learned, that you really need to trust the doctors. And once you trust, I think everything falls in place, and they know the best. So just go by what they are telling. You do your own research if needed by talking to the doctors, not talking to other people. You ask questions as many times as you can. All small things about tracheostomy and various things. I think I've really literally asked my doctors to draw the diagrams and explain, because I needed to know what's going to happen with my child. Right at that point, you need to know, if you have to consciously take a decision, sign a consent form, you need to be fully prepared for what you're getting into and signing up for. You're doing everything on behalf of your child's life. So for me, I think that was primary. So trust is one thing which I would say, taking the child to a very good multi-specialty clinic, and act immediately. Those are the three things which I think is a key takeaway. And staying positive is something that goes without saying, I guess, because yeah, each fall has, as people mentioned, I think it's different magnitude, but it could go from, worst to worst to worst. You don't know. That's the message that I wanted to convey. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So it's just kind of, something that we have to pause and think for a minute, to say that, injuries, like what Sai described, where you just kind of are in a hurry and then it is where you just trip and fall. And it can be something that is just limiting your lifestyle, say for a transient period, to something quite life-threatening and devastating. including like the critical illness for life, for a few hours, as what Mrs. Monica is trying to explain. So it's a magnitude that varies. Each incident or an accident has its own impact on the child, and the seriousness of that can be something trivial to something extremely life-threatening. That's what we are trying to hear. And kudos to both of you to actually have gone through this journey and sharing some insights with us this afternoon. So Mrs. Moitra, can you tell us, in the school setup, how does it work? You may have encountered something similar. So what is your kind of experience of, children kind of dealing with falls? What kind of systems have you in place? How do you manage it? What challenges do you have?
Right, right, Dr. Sujata. As you all know that, primary schools or any school in that matter involves, small children. Like I am in for the primary kids. So when I see, children walking in the corridor, I see they're not actually walking, they're actually running. They don't understand the meaning of walking fast. When we tell them walk fast or go there, something like that, they start running, and in the process they meet up with some accidents or some falls, injuries. So the first thing as a teacher or maybe as a parent also, I would say, we always tell the teachers or the IMMAs present in the school that not to panic. I feel, the more we panic, we lose control of the situation, and then we don't understand what to do and what not to do. So we have, in our school, AECS Magnolia is provided with all the first aid amenities at every floors of the school. We have well-trained nurse also in the school. We have a sick bay where immediate action or the first aid can be given. We have the PE sirs who are also well-trained with any, in case there is any sudden fall or injury which happens in the school, they can immediately take some action. And yes, we do take, in case there is a severe fall or an injury, we take them to the nearest hospitals. So, and we have also this stretcher, wheelchairs in the school in case the child is unable to walk or in case the child is unconscious due to the injury. So we can immediately give him the help. And moreover, like we also believe that the parents consent whenever there is a serious injury. We have to take parents consent, and for taking them to the nearby hospital. So we do make a call, we do take consent. And I would like to share a small incident which had happened in the school. Like there was a cricket match once, state, inter state, actually I don't remember which level, but the child was badly hit with the ball on the face, and it for severe bleeding happened, and the child had to be rushed to hospital. So the father was not available in Bangalore, and the mother was also stuck. So we showed the condition through WhatsApp video call, and then we had to rush to the hospital. And we immediately gave support as much as required, and the matter was under control. So it is very important for the parents also to cooperate, with the teachers or the school management. Our principal is very supportive and cooperative in that respect, and we do, get all the supports required. And we have our PE sirs also who comes to the rescue. And whenever the child is not well or meets with any injury or fall, they are also specially equipped with all the first-hand, amenities. So
Wonderful.
that is what I have seen, in all these years in the school.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank
So,
you.
Dr. Alappa, what we are
Yeah.
seeing is, we are hearing how a child is like, identifying the degree of injury at home, and how Mrs. Monica just elucidated that, it could be, life-threatening as well,
Correct.
and how her community helped her to take to the right hospital in time. And she had to kind of go through and a journey that was quite, very
Very.
difficult for parents to handle. And then we have heard from our, school teacher, Mrs. Moitra, about, how they are geared up towards handling it. So can you give us some advice or some insight into, how can a parent actually recognize what is a serious illness or rather serious injury, and what is a critical injury and what is a trivial injury? When should they be coming to the doctor to, in a clinic? And when should they be going to the hospital emergency? What is the right advice? How can you guide us?
Regarding the head injuries, these are about the brief description of the head injury. These are commonest injuries what you see in day to day, like during the infancy, children, or adolescent age group. And these are the commonest type of injury. And majority of them, luckily, there are minor injuries. Like 96% of the injuries are minor injuries, but 4% they'll end up in serious injuries. Minor injuries like just to fall from the either the baby, unattended baby falling from the cot, maybe there, or it may be short distance fall. And otherwise, baby will be otherwise normal, active, alert. And if the on the other hand, the majority of the minor injuries, they will not cause much serious problem to the like there is no skull fractures or no intracranial bleed. Majority of them are self-limiting and they doesn't need much intervention. But those who are with serious injuries, like those involved in a road traffic accident or suddenly falling from the height of more than 6 feet, that is a matter. And if they are relatively like sports related injuries, as Madam was mentioning about the cricket ball hitting, that is really a concern, because if it is a hard ball hitting the skull, that is like head, it is a relatively a severe injury that can land up in complication. What we generally will see is when to rush to the hospital or when to rush to the pediatrician. Just here to see for whether if there is any fall is there. Like if the child, otherwise if you are looking day to day what you are seeing the child, if it appears similar, or if there is any minor head injury with small bump is there, otherwise baby is doing quite okay. And there are no other if you are seeing the accident, what happened, like there is a small fall or any like toy getting hitting over the head, then that indicates a trivial injury. Then if you are seeing any unusual symptoms apart from small bump, you have to rush to the pediatrician. But majority, like if you are seeing the road traffic accident, there is high moving objects are there, and there is cricket bat hitting, and there is fall from height, like as Madam was mentioning, the child is from the 50 feet, that is quite dangerous one. And even if it is more than 6 feet, like even 5 feet falling from the height, they'll end up if the suddenly head struck to the ground surface, that is a really alarming. We have to see the exact nature of injury, or to first assess the nature of injury, how the child is undergoing the nature of injury. And then you have to superficially, when seeing the suddenly look into the child, whether there is any unusual symptoms, like unusual signs in the child you are seeing, like child is getting frequently vomiting, anything, or child is getting unconscious, like otherwise used to be alert and now suddenly getting into the unconscious, not arousable. And if they if the brief period of like unconscious will be there, again will be like regain maybe after 10 seconds. That more than 5 seconds unconscious itself will be a it is an alarming sign. And if you will see whenever the head injury happens, will be the big body swelling, or there may be sometimes a small cut over the wound. You'll see the head bleeding. You'll get frightened. Just you have to see that how the things are happening, and maybe the eyeball gets swelled, or maybe swelling behind the ear. And you see sometimes the bloody discharge, or sometimes water discharge from the suddenly start coming from the nose or ears. That is an alarming sign you have to see. And if the small child, if the less than 6 months itself is a alarming sign, because younger child, they don't have the much outer symptoms per se, but younger child itself is getting head injury. That itself will be a severe one. In any of these, if you are feeling like any apart from the small bump, if you are seeing unusual findings in a child, then you have to rush to the emergency hospital, emergency room. You have to get it. And you have to follow the advice of a doctor according to that.
Thanks, sir. So what we're trying to hear is, after the fall, ideally, if it is a witnessed fall or the injury happened when somebody is watching, and you know exactly what the mechanism of injury is, then you observe for whether your child is themselves, himself or herself, they are behaving normally and they didn't have any unusual symptoms, then it is a trivial fall, as what sir is telling. However, he has also elucidated lots of warning signs as to when to actually come to the hospital. And that is something to bear in mind, especially when you're thinking about, loss of consciousness, even if it is for a few minutes, age group, the height of fall, and what symptoms they get immediately after the injury or the accident. Then it's important to see the hospital doctor. Or, and if it is like neither here nor there, I'm not quite sure, then it's worthy to even see the pediatrician. So it's very important to have that distinction in our mind. So Dr. Alappa, I want to ask you one more question.
Yes.
What we hear is, we see lots of parents like understanding that, okay, my child has had a fall, they panic and they immediately want to like come to the hospital. Immediately they just come.
Okay.
So when should they, how long should they wait at home? And when should they rush? That's probably something that most of the parents would want to know.
Yeah. As I mentioned, apart from if there's any fall, there is a swelling over there. If the swelling is like around 3 centimeter and below, and apart from that, any other symptoms like child immediately majority of the children will see like vomiting, like 1 or 2 times vomiting is quite normal, but if it is beyond 2 to 3 times vomiting and is continued to vomiting, that is an alarming sign. You should not keep quiet in the home. And if the child is getting unconsciousness, that is an alarming sign. And whenever there is injury happen, there is a chances of getting the convulsion. In the general term, fits, will get the fits. Any one time fits, if it happens, also you have to immediately rush to the hospital. And there is any injury, like if there is a wound, you are cleaning the minor injury, you are cleaning the wound, then if the bleeding stops by within 5 to 10 minutes, it's well and good. But if it continues to bleed even after firm pressure application, that itself is a sign to get into the hospital. And any bigger swelling, and you know the impact, like how the nature of injury, what madam was saying, nature of the injury is important. If there is any nature of the injury, if you are able to assess, if it is it indicates a severe degree of nature of the injury, then definitely better to rush to the doctor rather than waiting in the home. Only can observe if there is a minor trivial injury, there is only a small swelling. Apart from that, child is absolutely fine and child is otherwise doing okay. And maybe initially 1 or 2 times, maybe can have a little bit of, there is a nauseating sensation on one time vomiting. That's quite common. But if it is continues to vomit beyond that, there is an alarming sign. That's and even if there is swelling, whatever that you are seeing initially, it is progressive in nature. Or if the otherwise initially there will be not much symptoms, maybe after a few hours of the fall, the child will be like normally he used to like run around and all. He's suddenly not able to walk and all. Or if they is able to speaking child suddenly losing the speech itself. That all indicates alarming signs, so that you have to get into the hospital to see proper diagnosis what is happening in the particular child.
Yeah, thank you, sir. So what we generally observe in our hospital as well is that, when a child, you have witnessed a fall, just get a feel for what the symptoms the child is having. If the child is back to themselves and they're okay, it's okay to wait and observe. You may want to observe anywhere from 6 hours to 24 hours at home. If by 24 hours they had absolutely no symptoms at all and they're like back to themselves, there's no need to like just go and see the doctor just for the sake of, because probably there are no warning signs. But as a parent or as a teacher, it's important to know what the warning signs are. So Dr. Alappa has given us some details about what the key warning signs are when we need to make sure that we have to rush to the hospital. So thank you, sir. So in a
Madam, this is the break now.
okay,
Ma'am,
what are we
break
doing in the
time.
break now? So we have a 20-second break for something that we need to do, that we are not going to look at the screen. So the music is going to be on and we can do something, some activity, physical activity, okay, for 20 seconds. All right, not looking at the screen. I'm going to stand and dance. It's up to you. You can choose whichever.
I think
All right.
all of us can stand and dance a little, or just, move our hands to the music.
Yeah. Closing eyes and looking something 20 feet away.
Over, time up, time up.
Great. Thank you. Okay, so moving on, a few things about, so what we have done in the first session is trying to understand what's the experience of head injuries, what are the things that we need to do, what are the things that we shouldn't do. So a few things I want Dr. Alappa to tell us a little bit about is how do we go about from here? What are the things that the parents should do at home? And what are the things they just shouldn't do? So we see like, trying, putting turmeric, then
Yes,
trying
yes.
all sorts of things. And then, we also see them trying to give water or, do all sorts of things. So can you tell us a little bit about the do's and don'ts?
Fine.
And they may want to have a CT scan immediately,
Correct.
Things like that.
Okay, fine. As like whenever the incident happened, but as again, initially you may assess the nature of the injury. There is depending on the nature of the injury, then you can proceed further. Like if there is a minimal injury, what you are seeing, the smaller falls and all, and otherwise baby is doing quite okay, then probably yes, immediately after the fall, you have to just see like what we call is medical literature, ABC we call as airway, breathing, circulation, like literally like cardiopulmonary resuscitation, what you go for. If there is a if there is a just go for the mild injuries, what happens in general term. Like if there is a mild injuries happen, otherwise the baby will be okay, fine. And baby may be crying more or inconsolable crying initially. And what you can do is you can calm the child. If there is a adolescent boy or a little bit older children, make him calm down and make him to lie down on the flat surface. If there is a younger child, you can take the baby, and if there's not much severe injury, you can take the baby and console the baby. And maybe initially, like a few one time vomiting and all, initially quite common. There is nauseating sensation. Then you have to just pacify the baby. And there may be small, the majority of the time they will have the small abrasion. Just you can clean the area and just apply clean cloth or the gauze can apply the firm pressure that will stop within 5 to 10 minutes. And if there is swelling, you can put the ice cube over there, that you can do. And no, otherwise babies otherwise fine. Then feeling any pain in the baby, then either paracetamol, like any ibuzesic, that will be okay. But if you are seeing a little bit on the other side, if there is a head injury, if you are like severe enough, like the falling from the height you are expecting, or road traffic accident, then you have to see the what to say, like ABC, like airway, breathing, circulation. You have to see. So first, see the child position, how the child is behaving, like how the you are feeling seeing the child, and any secretions in the nose or mouth. You have to properly with a gentle cleaning. You have to do that, and you have to see the breathing. You have to uncover a little bit of see the breathing, how the child is breathing. If the baby is not Is there a severe injury? The breathing may be sometimes sluggish or even which is lesser. That time you can use the rescue breathings should be given. And you should see for the how the child is, if you are able to assess the pulse or the color of the baby, and you need to give the cardiac compression if there is a extreme cases, I'm telling. But majority, like if there is any hand injury happens, and if you are seeing the open wound and all, if there is a like falling from too much height or road traffic accident, if there is a like they have like severe injuries, and if there is feeling like very big swelling are there, and there is heavy bleeding is there, and if there is heavy bleeding, don't apply too much pressure also, because if there may be skull may be fracture and you are putting the much pressure, it will go inside and it will further damage the things. Or already like suppose the child is going on a bicycle and accident happen, usually will be wearing the helmet, and in the helmet itself the injury can happen. And in that case, if you are seeing the serious injury, don't remove the helmet also, because remove the helmet, there is a bleeding can increase suddenly. And if there is any like anything is stuck to the head, don't try to remove that one head. That you have to take care. And generally, like by seeing that, then to call, main important is like once an incident happen, then you have to call to the ambulance and nearby hospital. Good hospital, as madam was asking, any good hospital, you have to get into that, rush into the hospital. And
Thank you, sir.
that's
Yeah, thank you. So what we're trying to hear is, there are a couple of questions in the chat box. One of the things which said, when should water be given and when not during falls or head injuries? So just something to bear in mind, we always think that, we're doing well by like calming them down and like, lifting them in whatever direction we want. So it's always very important. You can lift a child and everything as long as they're able to move their arms and legs on their own. Okay. Don't try to lift a child who says they're in pain and they can't move one or the other arm or leg. So just think about that. Okay. You may want to keep the spine, the back as straight as possible. So when you're doing it, try to make sure that you're moving safely, such children. Okay. And it holds true for adults as well. Okay. Always check whether they are able to move their hands and legs. That's very important. And then you can decide whether, you can transfer them, lift them, or do whichever. Okay. And not all head injuries require the brain scan. Okay. Just think about that. We have lots of children and parents coming in and they're saying, are you not going to do a CT scan to my child? We want to observe. And they would rather like, what if something happens? So just to bear in mind, there is a strict protocol even in the hospital with warning signs and indications for CT scan, indications for further imaging. So there is no need to panic. Most of the, hospitals have that protocol and they do follow it. So it's just something to bear in mind. So moving on, we'll just talk a little bit about, how do we actually prevent, or what solutions do we have towards the falls? So I'm going to go back to Sai Rishi and tell us, what do you think children should do to make sure that they don't have further injuries?
Yes, coming to the point of not having injury, first thing is we need to be aware of our surrounding. Like a person can fall if he's not aware of our surrounding. Like if we take a person who is walking with headphones or earphones on the road, or if he's in a deep conversation with someone, he might trip and fall on the footpath. Like if there's a ditch, he might trip and fall. The fall can be serious also. And we need to have like reflexes, they need to be a little bit active. So suppose if we're going on a cycle, casual ride, and if a dog or cat comes in the way, we need to react immediately rather than stay in awe, saying that a cat is coming, what do I do? We should not do like that. We should immediately react and apply the brake. And moreover, we should keep in control of ourselves. Like suppose if it were a normal day, children would have been playing out. They would have started to press on something. Also, we should keep in control of that. Like if we are running, we need to stay in control of the speed. If we run too fast, we might topple over. And this may he might hit some obstacle like a compound or a car or even at the person itself. So yeah, and then coming to the recovery point of view, it will recover slowly but surely. That much I can say. It's a slow process, but it will happen over time, and I trust that.
Wonderful, Sai. Super points. Thank you. So, Mrs. Monica, what do you think? As a parent, what do you think are the solutions? Like, basically, how should the, if a child has a head injury as critical as yours, what are the coping strategies and what are the key points that parents have to bear in mind when they're going through this journey?
I think, as I said in the beginning also, first thing is immediate action. You should not delay. A delay can be worse, right? Because those starting 2-3 hours in such condition when you've had such a fall, a trauma kind of a fall, it's very crucial to get the child admitted to the hospital, taken to the emergency immediately. So in my case, the community people, they took him to a nearby hospital first to check his vitals because he was not moving. And they couldn't see any bleeding on the floor, but when the person who took him, when he lifted him, there was a spool of blood. So we didn't know from where it is coming, right? You couldn't figure out whether it's from the head, something is torn, something is broken, or is it something coming from internal bleeding through the mouth or nose. So when they saw the blood, obviously first thing was to check the child's vitals, because see, again, out of experience, it could go worse. It could have been within the first 1 hour he's dead, right? That's also a possibility. I'm just talking very, very extreme here. I might sound a little bit like very, very extreme, but that's a fact, right? If 1 hour, you know that maybe there's no life left, right? There's no breathing. As doctor said, ABC is all 0. So in that case, probably the reaction would be different. But here the child was unconscious, but his heartbeat and his respiration was normal. So they took him and rushed him to first a clinic, a nearby hospital, I would say, not a big like Manipal. I'm from Bangalore. So at least got his vitals checked. And then nobody wanted to take, it's risky to take the child in such a situation in your own car. You don't have the car equipped with everything that is required. So ambulance, I would say, is a must in such case, because it could go from any situation to any situation. And that day it was unfortunately Mr. Modi visiting. So it was a lockdown kind of scenario. So literally, people had to call and get commissioner's permission to let this ambulance move. He was the only ambulance which could move, and I had to take another D route to reach the hospital before he could reach and be available at the PICU. So it was, I think reacting was the first thing, as I said. Second thing, I guess, the vitals are very important. Once it is checked, take him to the emergency. And at that point, see, emotions are always there. Emotions, we being human beings and social beings, it will always be there. People are there around you. Even internally, you don't know what you're going through because you're stuck. Your mind is literally frozen. But that freezing mind will not help. As a parent, I can tell you, freezing mind will not help. A reactive and a proactive mind is what is going to help. And in this scenario, even to sign that consent form, it was like quick. People, it's like, something had to be done, it had to be done. There is no second thoughts about it. So in my situation, I think I was very fortunate that people took him to the hospital. I saw him after the fall. I saw him rifting his legs, and I saw his swollen eye and blood spooling out. His Crocs are missing, his shirt is torn. That's the first look of the child that I had, right, coming out from the smaller ambulance to the hospital. But then there were people who immediately could call the ICU, PICU doctors and the whole team. I've seen only this in movies, or I've seen these in probably some, serials, where the whole team is with the gloves and waiting to grab the patient. That's exactly the scenario what it was. So I've only seen movies, as I said. They were literally waiting, a whole team just ready to incubate the child based on the situation. So they just grabbed him and moved, and all the paperwork I had to complete, and there was no time to think. And actually that was good, because if I would have thought, I would have figured out, I got a call like, which hospital do we take him? This is the situation. I said, just take him to Manipal, I'll see you there. And they're like, you don't waste your time coming to the small hospital, getting stuck in the traffic, and we wait for you and then take the child. We don't know what's going to happen. So I think that trust in the people also, right? We are still human beings. We need to trust each other. It's not just about doctors, but even generally, I'm saying, I trusted the people of my apartment, and 14 of them took him to the hospital. After a point, their car couldn't move, but at least they ensured the ambulance moved. And for me, it was the trust factor that they checked the vitals. The child is still alive. Just rush him and just see, you just stay, everything is taken care, you just be there. So I took a detour because I knew if I take this route, my auto is not going to be allowed. I won't even reach by the time he's admitted probably. And then I think the trust in the doctors, because the doctors were good enough to react immediately. They saw a pool of blood. So it was not like, okay, talk to the mother first, console her, and then start the process. No, immediately a consent form, all the other things were taken care of later, because right at that point, I think getting him on a ventilator was the first primary focus. And second focus, because there was blood, CT scan was a must given, right? And doctor didn't want to take a chance because we don't know if the bleeding is ongoing, repetitive, continuous, or one timer. The doctor did not even ask me. He did not even ask me his blood group also. He straight away took him to a CT and was transfusing blood as he was doing a scan. So that is something which I really appreciate of the doctors. And to be honest, I think this is something which happens when you take them to a multi-specialty hospital, because everything is taken care in one go. There were orthos, there were ophthalmologists because his eye was swollen, there was plastic surgery. There was everybody who you could think of under the roof to just get him out of this whole situation. So I think that was my experience. So again, coming back to the point, as doctor and everybody saying, it's the magnitude, and I had not witnessed the situation, but I could foresee and imagine it's a 50 foot. Even one first floor, if somebody is going to fall, you don't know what's going to happen, but this looked very severe for sure. I really thought he'll have some injuries in the head and all that, but luckily there were a lot of fractures in the skull and a lot of clots and all, but only one small hand bone was broken. So that was, I think, his fortunate luck, thankfully, and all the prayers and blessings. But instant reaction and getting things just going at that time, emotions will not help. So as a parent, I think I want to say, you have to be strong for your child because it's a part of you. You cannot put yourself one step back, because the moment you do that, the entire surrounding around you changes. People just react to what you react, right? So if I would start crying, then obviously people around me are going to just come and console me and cry. At that time, you're not thinking what is important to be done for saving the child's life. So that's primary. Emotions should be kept aside in such situations. Just act and trust. Just go ahead and do what is required to be done. All the emotions, you can take care of it later.
Kudos to you. You've been through a very arduous journey, but it's thoroughly inspiring to a lot of parents and even us doctors, I must say. So thank you. Do you want to just show your son to us?
Oh yeah, I'll just switch off the video. I'll get him in. Yes, for sure.
Sure. I'm going to ask Mrs. Moitra, what do you think, the kind of solutions for this in your setup?
Yeah. Actually, ma'am, what I feel is accidents can never be prevented. Otherwise, they wouldn't be called accidents. So we should be prepared as much as we can as responsible adults. And moreover, in the school scenario, accidents do occur, whether small or big. Yes, there are times when children are taken out to play outdoors, and we have covered those areas with grass beds, artificial grass beds, so that even if they fall.
Hello everybody.
Hi.
Hi. Good to see you.
Hi.
You are
Hi,
a strong
Vimo.
boy.
You've been such a strong boy, and you've got a super mom there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Continue.
माँ आपको फिश का बैकग्राउंड नहीं रखा?
You just push the door when you're going. Okay.
So that's what and we have kept all the windows also well covered. We make sure to get it checked on and off, and the sharp edges of the tables and the benches, we make sure they are not that sharp. We make sure to check it once in a while. And washrooms get slippery at times, and those are places where accidents may occur. So we make sure to keep them dry and clean. And also, CCTVs are always, these days, everywhere you go, it is CCTV coverage is always there. And that is a boon in a way. So we see, how the child has fallen, and, if the parents have to come and see. So all those protections, all those measures, I think every school has taken, we have also taken to keep our kids safe. But yes, as I said, accidents are bound to happen if it has to happen. But yes, we should be all, well protected. We should keep our environment secured. And as it was good to hear how Sairishi was explaining But yes, he's a grown up now, but for small kids, we should be more aware and more knowledgeable. IMAs, especially in this case, we should be we have trained our IMAs, how to take care of certain issues or certain accidents if it happens in the school scenario. So that is.
It's also very heartening to hear about, the preventative strategies and making sure that you're prepared. I think that's what matters. So the child's environment, be it at home or be it in the community, be it in the school where the child spends a lot of time, we're having strategies to make sure that, the child is as safe as they can.
Right.
Okay. And wonderful
As
insights.
Mrs. Monica was also saying, that trust factor, that trust, because the child stays in the school for around 7 to 8 hours, and so that a parent should have, all the amount of trust on the teachers, because they are doing their best to protect the child and to keep them safe as long as they are in the school. So that matters a lot, I feel.
Yeah, wonderful.
Can I just add something?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, this is the same child, my child again 1 year back. I mean, not last year, but the previous year. So again, I'm just trying to make a point here where you were just asking about a question, how should you react? Whether you should wait or you should again go. It all depends on the magnitude, right? So my child, he was jumping from the sofa to table in the living room. My dad had just warned him, like, you're moving too fast. What if the sofa moves? And that's exactly what happened. Sofa moved and he just fell and, had a cut on his head with the corner of the table, though it was a wooden table, but it had a sharp edge. So see, I was in the office at that point, and my mom did not even bother to call me because it looked like a cut. My dad could put turmeric powder and try to heal it. That's your first aid, what you would do generally, right? He could do that. And when she took him to the nearby clinic and they just opened it up, they're like, no, you'll need a stitch. That's when she called me. She's like, you know what? He fell down and I think we require a stitch. But I didn't react the way I reacted for the second incident at that point, because I could talk to him on the phone, which means he's fine. It's just got a cut, not sure how deep, but I could still take time to tell my mom, you take an auto, meet me at Bemel, I'll leave so that we don't waste time in the traffic, and I'll take him to the CMH hospital, the nearest hospital possible. So we went there, and yes, when I was inside, hospital environment honestly is not a very, exciting environment for anybody. I'm very scared of hospitals, to be honest. But even to take him there, and I was there, and that time because he saw me, he cried. Till then he was okay, but he saw me. I think that's probably the kids' reaction when they see their parents. They show the real emotions. So he cried at that point, and I was inside, and they were trying to stitch him up, and neither could I see, and he was acting more. So doctors are like, I think, ma'am, you just leave, and we'll take care of him. So I knew that they are doing their job, and they are best at it, right? Me being there would more give them a lot of pressure. So I just stepped out and he got the stitches, and actually it was a holy day. So he was all fine. He wanted to be, applied with colors. He had a big bandage around his head, but he was all fine. So what I'm trying to make a point is the way I reacted to situation 1 versus the situation 2, it completely dependent on the magnitude as we all are speaking. There is no one rule that applies, but you could physically see, even both the scenario, I was not even there. So it's only my imagination, okay, it could have got this worse. And immediate action, what you took on the first one was you got a carpet so that there is no movement happening between the sofa and the, this thing, because kids, you can't stop them, right? They will still continue playing, and that's how they grow up. I think you can't keep them secluded all the time. And reaction to the second one, I spoke to the, community people. I told them, I think it's important for you guys to lock the terrace, because you don't know who are going up. Kids are going without adults. It's very risky. This happened to my kid, and it happened first time in 17 years of the history of this apartment. Probably unfortunate for us, it happened 17 years. It's been always open. Kids have grown up here. But now they have taken that reactive action, at least to go and lock the terrace, and there is a key kept somewhere, and all those preventive measures, because you've seen and you've gone through that incident. So yeah, that is the point I just wanted to make. You react differently, but reaction and action is primary. I think you should do that.
Wonderful, wonderful. We have some quite interesting, key points that all our panelists have elucidated this evening. I will summarize in a minute. We're happy to take some questions. We have about another 5 minutes probably. I have one more thing here. Mrs. Julie has written, my son had a fall last week and injured his head. He got stitches, he's healing now, but he's very scared to go to the bathroom alone. So I'm not so sure, Mrs. Julie, how old your son is. However, this kind of post-traumatic event and then causing that little bit of stress is something that is expected in children as well as even in grown-ups, so to say. Okay. It is good that, okay, he's 7 years old. Yeah, he should get over it. I think the most important thing is to just, reinforce, why things happen and explore that a little bit and see how you can support that. Sometimes with supervision, he may do it and then gradually, for a few seconds, few minutes, and then just work your way up. But I'm confident that he will get through this without any issues. It's just a matter of time. We're happy to take any other questions. And in the meantime, we'll just summarize what the discussions today have happened. So what we went through is trying to understand what falls or head injuries can mean to a child, to a parent, to a teacher, and how the pediatrician views this event. And then we have, understood a little bit about what are the do's and don'ts that you can do wherever you are when your child is, having this fall. We also understood how it is important to focus on, the preventative steps, okay? The preparedness that one has to do, be it from the child's perspective. Sai has, shared with us some very wonderful points about how to make sure that you keep yourself safe. Most importantly, be situationally aware of your environment so that you know how to act and not act, And then we had Mrs. Monica share with us, a very, very, emotional journey, but nevertheless, a very, very strong message to all of us to say how each one will go through, in terms of the injuries and how, getting the community together, acting on time, and then, the emotional status and how to handle that in your child's best interest and how to react on time, all these important key points and where exactly should your child be managed. These are some of the key points that Mrs. Monica brought out. And then we had Mrs. Moitra bringing about a few important preventative steps, that teachers are trying in the child's best interest. And to top it all, how trust matters in handling this common problem that we all actually go through. So, I thank all our panelists for giving us a very fantastic 360-degree insight into all these, issues in a very succinct way. So thank you so much for all your input. I think we have one more question here from Sandhya. Hello, doctor. What is the impact of newborn less than 1 month falling out of a cradle or bed? This is especially when mother fell asleep on the bed and the pillow fell off and the baby rolled. Okay. So once again, this comes to, a very important point. Okay. Which is basically what is the condition of the child. Okay. And when they rolled over, did they roll over onto a hard floor, a carpeted floor, or a soft mattress? Okay. And nevertheless, any fall of a 1 month old baby or a newborn baby is always significant unless otherwise proved. So it is something to bear in mind. So the suggestion is always to make sure that, you keep your environment safe. So it's important to put some soft pillows and things like that around the bed also to make sure if that is possible. Okay. So I hope that answers your question. So if there are no more questions, we'll probably just, close the session. So I want to thank each and every one of our panelists for sharing their thoughts. Thank you so much for sparing your time this afternoon and helping us raise this awareness amongst everyone. who have attended. So this session will be recorded and will be shared with quite a few people. So we'll try and see how far we can impact that change in the community. So just a point to remember that, wherever it is, wherever you are, always be aware of what your immediate health facility is for different problems. So try to get to know where you can go for emergencies. Try to get to know which facility has got, the multi-specialties that can deal with your child's age and everything. Okay. So we'll try and see, we'll continue our discussions, something similar like this in the future as well on important key topics. So I want to thank Asta RV for, and Mayur specifically for helping us organize this session. Thank you so much, Mayur.
Thank you, madam. Lovely session it was. So, thank you all for joining in. And I'll share the recording with Dr. Sujata and all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for the opportunity.
For the opportunity.
Yep, thank you for just hearing us out.
Thank you so much for sparing your time.